Students, this is the homework help video for Unit 4, Lesson A. You should be only accessing this video after you put a solid 20 minutes of effort into your homework. Work yourself down this list. It is very important that you put your own effort into this prior to using this video. It enhances your learning. Taking a look here at the homework problems, the most important thing for you to be able to do is label and walk yourself through have, need, do. So step one is you sweep the given angle. Now you label opposite, adjacent, and hypo. The opposite is across from the angle. That's your opposite. Adjacent is next to the angle. And then hypo is the hypo, which is always directly across from the right angle. Now we do have, need, do. We have the hypo. We put an H. We need the opposite. We put an O. Now we have an OH combination. Look on your reference card. This reference card, you look for the OH combination, and you see that OH goes with sine. So you put exactly this on your paper. Sine of theta equals opposite over hypo. So you write it out, sine of theta over 1 equals opposite over hypo. Write exactly that down. Then, very carefully, you do circle, plug, chug. Circle theta. Come up here, circle theta, which is 54. So you write sine 54 degrees, put parentheses around that. That's a single unit over 1, equals opposite, which is your x, over hypo, which is your 21. From there you cross multiply, you isolate x, and then you get your calculator out and solve for x. Taking a look at the one on the right, you start by sweeping the angle, and we label opposite, adjacent, and hypo. This is your opposite. This is your adjacent, the side next to, and this is your hypo. Now we do have, need, do. We have the adjacent side. We need the hypo. We have an AH combination. You come over here, you take a look at your AH combination, and we see that AH combination is cosine. So it's going to be cosine, or CAH. So you write that down. Cosine of theta over 1 equals adjacent over hypo. Now you circle, plug, chug. Cosine of theta. Theta is going to be 49 degrees. So cosine 49 degrees over 1 equals adjacent, which in this case is 15, over hypo, which you don't know, is x. You cross multiply, you isolate x, then you get your calculator out and solve. Taking a look here at these two. Here we sweep the angle, you label the opposite, which is this case 13. You label your adjacent side, and you label the hypo, which is across from the right angle. We have the opposite. We want here the hypo. I have an OH combo. And again, you go look at your reference card. What goes with OH? And that's going to be sine, goes with OH. So I write that down. Sine of theta over 1 equals opposite over hypo. Now you circle, plug, chug. Sine of theta, pick up theta, So it is sine 48 degrees. Parentheses around that, keep it as a unit, over 1 equals opposite, which is 13, over your hypo, which is x. Cross multiply, isolate x, then get your calculator. Taking a look on the right, you start by sweeping the angle. Your opposite side, there's your opposite. Here's your adjacent. And here's your hypo. We have, in this case, the hypo, h. We want the adjacent, we use a. So we have an AH combination of sorts. You ask yourself what goes with AH. Again, looking at this card, and you see that AH goes with CAH, or cosine. So we write that down. We're going to go cosine of theta over 1 equals adjacent over hypo. You circle plug chug. And we have cosine of the angle 31 degrees over 1 equals adjacent, which in this case is x, over hypo, which is 20. Again, you cross multiply, isolate x, get out your calculator and solve. Again, you're practicing here. You start by sweeping your angle. We take a look here. This is the opposite side. This is the adjacent side. And then here's our hypo. We have the adjacent side. There's A. We want the opposite side. That's O. We have an OA combination. You come over here, you check it out, what goes with OA, and you see it's TOA. So you write tangent of theta over 1 equals opposite, which in this case, opposite over adjacent. Then you circle plug chug, and it's going to be tangent of theta, which is 44 degrees, put parentheses around that, keep that as a unit, equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 19. Cross multiply, solve for the unknown. Over here, we sweep our angle, and now we label opposite over adjacent. This is opposite. This would be the adjacent. And the right angle points to the hypo. So here we have the opposite side, and we want the adjacent side. We have an OA combo. So you can see it's an OA combination. So once again, we're working with tangent. So we do tangent of theta over 1 equals opposite over adjacent. But Miss Way, I just wrote it on the left. I don't care. You will rewrite the equations every single time. Yes, you'll be rewriting the same thing several times. That helps your brain remember. Then you do circle plug chug. So you circle theta, you plug it in. Tangent of 64 degrees over 1 equals opposite, which in this case is 20, over adjacent, which in this case is x. Cross multiply, isolate x, then get your calculators out. Taking a look here, you start by sweeping the angle, which is right here, and we label opposite, adjacent, and hypo. This is the opposite. This would be the adjacent, and this would be our hypo. Now we ask ourselves, what do we have? We have the adjacent side, we put an A. We want the hypo, or excuse me, it's the other way around, excuse me. We have the hypo, put an H. We want the adjacent, put an A. We have an AH combination. We have an AH combination. You ask yourself what goes with AH. So you take a look at your chart here. And you see what goes with AH is cosine. So you write exactly that out. So it's cosine. So you do cosine theta over 1 equals adjacent over hypo. Then you circle plug chug and you end up with cosine 29 degrees over 1 equals adjacent, which is x, over hypo, which is 20. You cross multiply again, isolate x, then get your calculator and solve. Over here, you sweep 62, and now we're going to label the opposite, and in this case, 12 is the opposite. Your adjacent is here. Here is your hypo. So we have the opposite this time. We want the hypo. So we have an OH combination. You ask yourselves, if you look on this chart, what goes with OH, and you see what goes with OH is sine. So you write sine of theta over 1 equals opposite over, oops, wrong color, opposite over hypo. Then you circle plug chug, sine of theta. Your theta is 62 degrees, so we do sine of 62 degrees. Parentheses over 1 equals the opposite, which in this case is 12, over the hypo, which is x. You cross multiply, and you solve for x. Number 11. Finger track and read. The most important thing for you to do with word problems are these two things. 1, you finger track, read out loud. 2, you filter, you underline or highlight keywords and phrases. So it says you're in a sailboat floating towards the Golden Gate Bridge. The angle from your sailboat up towards the base of the bridge is 55 degrees. If the base of the bridge is 500 feet above water, use the storyline to draw and label the right triangle, then solve for the distance you must sail to be directly under the bridge. So what's going on here is that you're a sailboat in the bay, and you are sailing towards the bridge along the water. And your goal is to get directly under the bridge, because it's a beautiful view. From you to the bridge, we're told is an angle already, from you to the base of the bridge, that angle is already 55 degrees. It's called an angle of elevation, 55 degrees. The height above water is 500 feet. So from that point straight down, that's 500 feet already. Your unknown is how far you must move forward to get to the bridge. So that horizontal distance is your unknown. Bring that down here, and we have 55 degrees. We have 500 feet. We have unknown length here, and of course you have a right angle. You're going to use this information to do have, need, do, and solve for the unknown. This one says, you are in an airplane which is coming in for a landing. 5 minutes away from the airport, the exact height or altitude of the airplane is 600 feet. The angle from the edge of the landing strip up towards the incoming plane is 8 degrees. Calculate the diagonal distance from the airplane to the end of the landing strip at that moment. Use the storyline to draw and label a right triangle. Then calculate the distance from the landing strip. Okay, taking a look here, we have an airplane coming in for a landing. So if this was our landing strip, we have an airplane coming in for a landing. Says right here, the exact height of the airplane is 600 feet. So height or altitude is always at a right angle. So this straight down is 600 feet. It says the angle from the edge of the landing strip up towards the incoming plane is 8 degrees. So from the edge of the landing strip up to the incoming plane is 8 degrees. Calculate the diagonal distance. So we want the diagonal distance, which is x. Let's pull this information down to this triangle so you're more familiar with it. There's your 8 degrees. We want this as x. We have a 600 feet altitude, which is this right here. Your goal is to solve for x using SOH.